Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jaisy, and today I'm showing you a really quick way that you can make your own face mask at home. And guess what? There's no sewing involved. I wanted to start by showing you the finished product. This mask was made completely without any sewing, and I even threw it in the washing machine just to make sure that it wouldn't fall apart after just one use, because it is intended to be reusable. The steps, once I got it down of what I was doing, they are very simple and take me like 5 minutes or less to do. Only a few materials needed. And I've been able to use multiple different fabrics to make other masks. And I'll actually show you the other mask that I made at the end of this video, so stick around. So the first step is finding a pattern for the mask you want to make. And the good news is they are pretty much available all over the internet. These are two patterns that I found in other YouTube videos when I first decided I wanted to make my own mask. Now, the YouTube creators that provided these patterns, they both sewed their mask, but I found that it still worked with my method that doesn't include any sewing. That said, if you would prefer to sew your mask, I think both of their tutorials were awesome, so I'll leave those videos linked in my description box. I ultimately decided to go with the larger pattern because I liked that it covered a larger area of my face. I decided to use this fabric that I've had for a really long time because it has lots of bright and vibrant colors, and I thought it would be a nice change of pace from the mask that I've been seeing so far. Here you see me ironing out any wrinkles or ripples, and this is all in preparation for when I will begin cutting the fabric. You can use your cutout mask pattern to get a rough idea of how much fabric you should cut. If you plan on making multiple masks, just be sure to fold your fabric over multiple times. This way, when you get ready to cut it, you only have to cut once as opposed to going back and cutting the pattern out of the fabric multiple times. Now it's time to cut the patterns out. Obviously, you can use a pair of scissors to just cut the pattern out. I decided to buy a rotary cutter because I thought that it would make it easier for me to have a very clean cut. If you decide to get a rotary cutter, you also need to get some sort of cutting mat or have some sort of material that you can put underneath whatever it is that you're cutting with it, because these things are really sharp. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people have cut off part of their fingers with these. So that said, if you decide to use a rotary cutter, be very, very careful. I mean, you can see in this video just how sharp it really is. This is about, I think this is like maybe 2, 4, 6, 8 layers of fabric. And you can see that this rotary cutter is just cutting through that fabric like nothing almost. Next, we're using a fusing tape to put the mask together, and this is the key point that makes this mask a much easier and accessible way for anyone that doesn't have a sewing machine or maybe just isn't good at sewing or doesn't enjoy it. I have two types of fusing tape. The one on the left is one that I recently picked up from Walmart, and it has more of a plastic-like feel to it. The one on the right has more of a fabric or a polyester-esque kind of feel to it. After making masks with both of the bonding tapes, I decided to go with the one on the right because it had a much stronger bond. I found this type of fusing tape on Amazon for only around, I think it was $7, so I included that link in the description below if you're interested in buying it. Going back to the pattern, you can see that there's about a 1/4 inch of space marked off. And this is intended to be where the sewing or stitching line would be if you were sewing the mask. Instead, this is the space that I want to have the fusing tape to occupy. Also, I want to make a note that I'll only be putting the fusing tape along the curved edge of the mask because this mask is just a 1-ply mask. We could very easily make it a 2 or 3-ply mask by just doubling or tripling the fabric before we fuse them together. But you'll see towards the end of this video that I actually have another way of adding an extra layer of filtration. As you can see, the fusing tape is a little bit wider than this section that's marked off, but just eyeballing it, I can see that if I cut the fusing tape in half, then that would be just about the perfect measurement that I need right here. From there, you just cut the fusing tape into small pieces and fit them along the curved edge of the mask. I also added a little bit of the fusing tape, about 1/2 inch on the bottom side of the mask, just so it can hug my chin just a little bit better. Once all of your pieces of the fusing tape are on one side of the mask, then you will place the other one on top. And then we're just going to use an iron set on whatever number setting would be for wool fabrics. And you're going to lay the iron on there for roughly about 15 to 20 seconds. And that just heats up the fusing tape, allowing it to create a strong bond. Be sure to press down on the iron with a pretty strong amount of force, especially if you're using a fabric that's on the thicker side, just to make sure that those bonds are heating up and fusing in with the fabric that you're using. And something to keep in mind, if you're using a fabric where there is an obvious difference between the inside of the fabric or outside of the fabric, at this stage you want to have the outside of the fabric, the part that will show, to be facing each other. So does that make sense? Or another way to explain it, the piece of the mask that we just put the fusing tape on top of before putting the other side, that was the outside of the mask. After the mask had a chance to cool off after being ironed, I flipped it around just to see how the shape came out, And this is exactly what I wanted. I used my scissors to cut off any parts that were sticking out awkwardly. The last step to making this mask is just adding loops that will go around your ears to hold the mask in place. To do this, I bought a pack of thin hair ties from Dollar Tree. First, I stretched out the hair ties just to give a little bit more leeway on them. Then you put each side flap of the mask into one of the hair ties. You fold that flap over, going towards the inside of the mask, or the side that's going to be right up against your face, and use some of the fusing tape to attach that flap down, holding in the hair tie. This is the only part of the process that can be a little bit tricky, but it's not that complicated. The main thing that you want to be sure of is that none of the fusing tape is exposed, because you don't want to get any of that stuck to the bottom of your iron. As an added layer of protection or filtration, you can actually use coffee filters. I was able to pick both of these up from Walmart. Each of them were less than $1. They were both a little bit big for the mask, but I was able to cut them down and they feel comfortable against my face. The triangular coffee filters were a little bit of a stronger material, which may be better for the filtration. Since they were a little bit less pliable, I would just crumble them up, and then that made it much easier to shape them inside of my mask. And that's a wrap for making this quick and easy mask for all of the non-sewers among us. I hope that this video can help out a lot of people. Feel free to share it with any of your friends or family that would be interested in making their own mask with materials that, for the most part, I think people already have in their homes. Here's another look at the mask that I created. And also, here are some other masks that I made with other materials that I had in my home. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I definitely appreciate your support as a newbie YouTuber. Please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions or just want to add to the conversation in any way. You already know that I would definitely love to have you as a subscriber. And until next time, bye!